swinging a drive, right field and deep. Back goes Aquino. It's got a chance. Gone. Get out the tape measure. Long gone. Fly the W.
Cubs fans, it's time to fly the W with Dustin Rhodes and Paul Crawley-Jean.
All right, Crawley, this is episode 336 of the Fly the W podcast. The Cubs actually lost a series. Don't forget to listen, download, subscribe, most importantly, review the podcast. Follow on the socials. I'm at Mullion Haw on X.
You can follow me at Crawley's Cubs on X, Blue Sky, TikTok, and Crawley's Clubhouse on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Threads. You can email us at crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com. Dustin, I mean, there's no way we could have predicted that this would have happened, that they would. I mean, we knew eventually they were going to lose, but, you know,
we didn't think they were going to be 13 in a row by the time we got back, right?
No,
that we didn't think. And I think we felt like they would lose the game on Sunday. What I
100%.
didn't figure was going to happen is I didn't think they were going to go 20 innings without scoring a run. That I did not see.
That was a tough one, but you know, that is baseball. That's how it works. And here was our predictions. And again, when I listened to this earlier, and I'm like, they weren't that bad. Here we go.
Oh, TBD, but we're going to go with Assad here, right? We're going to assume that Assad is pitching in game number 1, Edward Cabrera, game number 2, Jamison Tyone, game number 3. I think the Cubs are finally going to lose, Crawley. I don't think they're going to sweep the Rangers. But you go first this time. I'll say that. I'm going to say they aren't going to sweep them, and I'm saying they're going to lose. Now, are they going to win more than? Are they going to win 2, or are they only going to win 1? Crawley, where are you at? I know you're not going. I know you're not going sweep. There's no way.
I would tell you I'm close to sweep.
Wow. Okay, so
I'm on the fence.
2 out of 3. You feel good. You feel good on 2 out of 3.
I think Assad and the Cubs beat Kumar Rocker in game 1, but the only thing that makes me nervous is the fact that they used Daniel Palencia today, which pisses me off still.
Mm-hmm.
But Cabrera, I think, should beat Jack Leiter. The Rangers have a losing record at home. And then I think the toughest one for me is going to be Jamison Tyone versus Jacob deGrom. So I think the Cubs win Friday and Saturday. I think they lose Sunday to deGrom.
All right, I'll go 2 out of 3. You twisted my arm. We both got him 2 out of 3. I was kind of leaning 1 out of 3. They just had a hell of a streak. But let's see what those bats look like down in Texas, right? The deep in the heart of Texas. So that's a good thing.
You should have stayed with your gut, man. You should have stayed 1 out of 3.
You talked me into it, though. And hey, we thought Assad was starting on Friday, and in game number 1, it actually ended up being Ben Brown, and he was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, when you take a look to the keys to game number 1, it was the dynamic duo of Ben Brown and Javier Assad. No Matthew Boyd. And again, like you said, we weren't sure who was going to get the start, whether it was Brown or Assad. But Brown got the start. He pitched both pitched in the game, and I think both were outstanding. Ben Brown pitched 4 innings and did not give up a hit. He walked 1 and struck out 3. Brown's been using 4 pitches. The knuckle curve he uses the most, 39% of the time. Then the 4-seam fastball, which he used 30% of the time. But this year, that sinker that we've talked about, he's used it 22% of the time, especially to the righties, even through a few changeups. Brown was extremely efficient, Dustin. He only needed 46 pitches to get through 4 innings. And so, I mean, I just thought he looked every bit the part of what we've, I've been kind of waiting to see this. I knew he had it in him. And again, it's 1 start. We've seen Ben Brown had 1 good start before. That's not, I'm not going to go crazy here, but this is what Ben said after the game.
I think I just had some confidence from that month and a half was really helpful. My stuff plays. I know how to repeat my delivery a little bit better. Thought we had a really awesome game plan just with what we wanted to do early on with the changeup. Kind of working through some curveball feels throughout the game, got it out in a good spot too. There's things that you can do as a starter that you can't do out of the bullpen. You can't really, not a lot of inning-to-inning adjustments. It's kind of like there's your little short burst and you're done. So it's cool I was able to experience that today too. Just made pitches. Defense is doing what the defense does, and thankful for them out there. And Carson called a great game, and the rest is history.
Yeah, it was a great game, and The funny thing is, I was in Arlington the last time they played in Texas for opening day. That was 2 years ago. And Ben Brown made his MLB debut in Texas and got rocked. We were there and they were playing home run derby with him. It was ugly. And so to see him come back in a place that, wasn't too friendly to him earlier and look as good as he did was impressive. Now, the guy who didn't look good was Ryan Rollinson. He came into the game in the 5th after Ben Brown gave him a 3-0 lead, and he proceeded to walk the first 2 base runners he faced, got an out, gave up an RBI single to Justin Fouquet to make it a 3-1 game. Craig, quick with the hook on that one. Javier comes in, throws a wild pitch to move the runners 90 feet. Runners at second and third, 1 out, tying run at second base. But then Assad gets Danny Jansen to pop up in the infield and Brandon Nimmo to line out to end the threat. And I feel like that really, because that was it. Like Texas was like, this is our opportunity. And they've been struggling with runners in scoring position. And once Assad got out of that, he was rolling. He would go 3 2/3 innings, give up a single in the 6th, which was wiped out on a double play ball and a walk in the 8th. Between Brown and Assad, they would go 7 2/3, give up no runs, 2 walks, 1 hit, and 4 Ks. I mean, it was just phenomenal.
All right, key number 2, Cubs grinding at the plate.
Yep. When we did tail the tape last episode, the Cubs offense was ranked 1st in batting average, 1st in on-base percentage, 2nd in slugging. And you saw that Friday night as the offense kept grinding out the at-bats against starter Kumar Rocker. First inning, the Cubs scored on a run on a Michael Conforto double. He got the start, and an Ian Happ single to put the Cubs up 1-0. Seiya drew a walk in that inning. Lots of long at-bats. By the time Rocker's out of the first inning, he threw 28 pitches. He was able to get out of the 2nd and 3rd without too much damage, but in the 4th, the Cubs knocked him out of the game. Happ walks, Suzuki homers to make it 3-0. Bush walks, Carson Kelly grounds out, PCA strikes out, Dansby singles, and Rocker at this point had thrown 38 pitches in the 4th before he gets pulled. So, Dustin, it took Ben Brown 46 pitches to get through 4 innings. It took Kumar Rocker 87 to get through 3 2/3. That's what we're talking about with these grinding at bats. Seiya Suzuki was just absolutely, again, looking good, every bit the part. And so, the key number 3 was a fun one. And we've talked about this plenty, capitalizing on opportunities. If you make a mistake against the Cubs, we talked about it, they're going to make you pay. And this is going to happen in the top of the 7th. The Cubs lead 4-1. It's still a game. And Nico Horner hits one up the middle. Second baseman Justin Fouquet collides with Corey Seager. Nico is hustling all the way. He makes it to second on a ball that shouldn't have made it out of the infield. And you sit there and it's that hustle, Dustin, that respect 90 that you look at, and that gets the team fired up. And Nico described it like this.
There's not really any thinking or communication on things like that, base running, but just always looking to take extra bases and capitalize on opportunities. Our team, I feel like, plays the game pretty hard and always looking for extra bases, and nice to be on base.
So now that Nico's on base with that ball that should have been an out, Conforto walks, Alex Bregman singles to load the bases with no outs. Cubs have a chance to break this open. Ian Happ grounds out to second baseman Justin Fouquet, who will throw out Nico Horner at home. Bases loaded, 1 out. Seiya Suzuki grounds out to third baseman Josh Young, who throws out Bush at home plate, who throws out Conforto at home plate. You got the bases loaded, but now it's 2 outs, and you're saying to yourself, are we really going to blow this opportunity? But how about Michael Bush double down to left?
What a hit. What a hit.
Clears the bases. Cubs take a 7-1 lead, and that's how this would end. And when we talk about Michael Bush, it was a slow start, but Marquis put this graphic up after the game about what Michael Bush has been doing, and he really has been a difference maker ever since he's got off to that slow start. He's really been hitting the ball well, just capitalizing when the Cubs need to. And I'm just really impressed. And that was a fun game, Dustin. And when that game was over, 10 in a row.
10 in a row,
Dustin.
Doesn't happen. It's already happened twice now, right?
Yeah. And so it happened in 2026. It happened twice. The last time it happened, 1935. Before that, 1910. And in 1906, it happened 4 times.
Wow. I don't remember that one.
No, it was a little before my time. But Dustin, Those three teams, 35, 1910, 1906, all made it to the World Series.
Well, fingers crossed. All right, game number 2, Crowley. Edward Cabrera, Jack Leiter, son of the famous Mets pitcher, right? Al Leiter?
Yep, and the cousin with Mark Leiter, former Cub. There's a lot of Leiters all over the place. Key number 1 was lots of missed opportunities.
Oh, boy, Crowley. Boy, oh, boy. Runners in scoring position is the headline of this game for me.
Yep. Runners, the first inning, 1 out. Michael Conforto, who got his second start in a row, hits a 1-out double. Bregman strikes out. Ian Happ walks, 2 on, 2 out. Seiya pops out to end the inning. So frustration there, but little note there with that walk by Ian, he reached safely in a career high 30 straight games since April 5th. So since game 2 of the doubleheader, you remember that one with the Guardians?
Yep.
Since that game, he's gone 29 for 111, 25 walks, a 406 OBP. The 30-game stretch was the longest active streak in the NL and the longest by a Cub since Brian LaHare's 32-game run in 2012. Brian LaHare. I would
never have guessed Brian LaHare had that number.
He was an all-star that first half. He looked unstoppable, and then reality happened. So the Cubs, though, they blow that first inning. Second inning, first 2 base runners reach for the Cubs, 2 on, no out. PCA flies out, Dansby strikes out, Nico lines out. Still no runs. Third inning was the worst. Michael Conforto leadoff walk. Alex Bregman hits one to third. Josh Young with the air. Now they have runners at the corners, no out. 90 feet away. Happ and Suzuki both strike out with a runner at third. Bush walks to load the bases. Carson Kelly flies out, no runs. Top of the 4th, 1 out. Dansby Swanson doubles. Nico grounds out. Conforto flies out. Coming into this game, Dustin, when opposing teams had runners in scoring position against Jack Leiter, the batting average was .357. On Saturday, the Cubs couldn't get a hit. They just could not get a hit. And Jack Leiter's been giving them up with runners in scoring position. So that made it even more frustrating.
All right, key number 2, Edward Cabrera not at his best, struggling.
No. In his previous 5 starts, how about this? 5 starts in a row, Edward Cabrera gives up 3 runs in each of those games. And before the game, I always kind of put a little something that's on my mind, and say, let's go Cubs. I always do that on X or Twitter, whatever you call it. But I said, okay, how about this time you give up less than 3 runs? And unfortunately, he did the opposite. He gave up more. Bottom of the second was rough. First batter, Josh Young hits a solo home run, gives up a walk, 2 singles, another run scores before Edward got out of the inning. Cubs are down 2-0. Bottom of the 4th, runner at second, 1 out. Jock Peterson, former Cub, doubles. Alejandro singles, 2 more runs score. Cubs are down 4-0. Bottom of the 5th, Justin Foscue hits a leadoff home run. For Cabrera, he gave up 5 runs, 7 hits, 1 walk, 6 Ks, and 2 home runs in 5 innings of work. Skipper Craig, what went wrong with Edward Cabrera?
Look, I think Cabby did a good job getting first pitch strikes. We were ahead in the count like most of the night. We couldn't finish hitters tonight was probably the different story. So they did a good job with 2 strikes. They did a really good job extending at bats and getting themselves back in counts. So kind of credit to them what they did tonight. But at one point we had a lot of first pitch strikes. So. Wasn't that as much as just they kept fighting at bats and had good at bats after that?
I don't know. It's just I have not been overly impressed with Edward Cabrera. There's been some good stuff, but my hope was that this guy was going to be a front end of the rotation guy.
The one thing he has is the swing and miss, right?
Yep.
That's the one thing he definitely brings that this staff, even if they were fully healthy. I mean, Cade Horton obviously brings that, but Justin Steele's not necessarily always a swing and miss guy. So that was part of what I thought he brought to the table.
Yeah, I just feel like we haven't seen the best of him yet, and I'm hoping, the Cubs still do.
The best is yet to come, right, Frank Sinatra? The best.
Well, here's the thing. When you look at Texas, they have not been slugging, especially at home. Like, they have, no slug, and they have no slug at home, and he gives up 2 home runs. Like, how does that
right. Yeah, I heard Pat and Ron talking about it. That place is not an easy park to homer in.
No. Key number 3, the Rangers bullpen shut down the Cubs. As good as Leiter was, they were able to get him out of the game in the 5th inning, but that didn't help. The Rangers bullpen pitched 4 1/3, gave up a single in the 8th and a walk in the 9th. That's it. So for half the game, Dustin, the final 15 at bats, the Cubs only had 2 base runners. and none of them got past first base.
That's not going to do it. That's never going to do it. Right?
No. The Cubs get shut out 6-0. The 10-game winning streak ends. Everything the Cubs did successfully during the streak was missing on Saturday night. Getting the big hit, 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position, left 11 men on base. We said, make them pay for their mistakes. Rangers made 2 errors, and the Cubs couldn't capitalize. Knocking out the starter and punishing the bullpen, team gets shut out, and the bullpen slams the door. Dustin, for the Cubs, it was the first loss since losing to the Pirates 9-7 on April 27th. Today, when we're recording this, May 11th. So it was a little jarring to see that loss, right?
Yeah, a little jarring for sure. And again, it goes back to that old problem. The reason they lost was failing to move guys around the base paths. You get guys on, and you don't get the job done, and then that gets us into game number 3. And unfortunately, Cubs would have sort of the same issue.
I don't know about this. Well, see, in the second game, you had all these runners that you couldn't get in the first half. The third game, not really. There just wasn't a lot of opportunities. And
11 left on base in the third.
Yeah.
Not necessarily runners in scoring position, but left on base. 11 left on base.
Yeah,
the heart of your order struck out 2, 3, and 4, struck out 8 or 9 times, I think.
Yeah, for me though, let's take a look here. You got Jack Leiter, who's a good kid. He's young, but this is why you wanted to win that game on Saturday, because now you got to beat Jake DeGrom to take the series. Cub fans remember Jake DeGrom in Game 3 of the NLCS against the Mets when he only allowed 2 runs in 7 innings, retiring the last 11 batters he faced. DeGrom, the question is he a Hall of Famer? I would say so. Yes, he's a Hall of Famer. He will get in. But if it weren't for injuries constantly interrupting his career, my guess, Dustin, is he would have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. His stuff is that good. He just can't stay healthy. And so on Sunday, he picked
up his 1,900th career strikeout, right?
Yes. And so, when you look at it, he had his fastball and his slider working. He was able to locate everything just perfectly. And you're looking right here. This is from Marquee here. He threw 7 innings, 94 pitches, a season high 22 whiffs induced. So when he got in trouble, which wasn't often, he was able to get the strikeout. He only gave up 3 hits, Dustin, in 7 innings. So not a lot of opportunities to score. I mean,
listen, Jameson Taillon was all right, and he was just playing better. That at the end of the day, that's what it was. They just ran into a really hot pitcher.
Yep. DeGrom sat down the first 9 he faced until Nico got a double to lead off the 4th. Then he sat down the next 8 until Nico again singled. The only Cubs to get on base besides Nico was Michael Busch, who singled in the 7th. The Cubs' 2, 3, 4 hitters of Ballesteros, Suzuki, and Happ combined to strike out 9 times. Speaking about Suzuki striking out, DeGrom, like you said, recorded his 19,000th career strikeout with a swinging KFC in the first inning. That was his 2nd of the inning. He became the 2nd fastest pitcher to 900 strikeouts in both games and innings. So Johnson was the quickest in games, 256 to DeGrom's 252, and innings. Chris Sale, who the Cubs are going to see this week, did it in 1,577 in the 3rd innings. Chris Sale, 1,560 in the 3rd innings. DeGrom is the 9th active pitcher with 19,000 strikeouts. But Randy Johnson's already on the Hall of Fame.
1,900. Careful. 1,900, not 19,000.
19,000 would be first bet. But Chris Sale is going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Maybe there'd be a trophy named after him, Crawley.
Yeah. What really stinks about the Cubs, though, is just that you didn't want to waste a good start by Taillon, who went 5 1/3, gave up 1 run, 4 hits, 2 walks, and 4 Ks. And Dustin, he didn't give up a home run for the first time since March 31st.
Well, that was his first start, right? That was in the first start of the year for him?
It was a cold game against the Nationals, yes. Key number two, a controversial call doesn't go the Cubs' way. This is the one play that got the Cub fans and Craig Counsell a little chippy. Happened in the bottom of the 4th, no score. Josh Young hits a leadoff single. Evan Carter flies out. Former Cub Jock Peterson, pain in the ass. He doubled to put runners at 2nd and 3rd with 1 out. The next batter, Alejandro Asuno, hits one to the first baseman, Michael Busch. He throws home. I didn't think it was the greatest tag by Carson Kelly. Young is called safe, and Craig Counsell is going to challenge. He's going to challenge the call. And Dustin, it was a close call, right?
I don't know. He was out. He was out.
New York determined there wasn't enough evidence to overturn it. Call stands. And Dustin, I know it's not going to be a popular take just by how you're reacting, but to me, the replay system isn't as great as I hoped. The talk, the momentum for, having this in games, it originally started, Dustin, the replay with just, you could only challenge like home runs, fair, foul, that kind of stuff, like looking to see if it got over a line or something. That was it. You couldn't do any other plays. But then shortly after a game on June 2nd, 2010, this is the game where Detroit Tigers pitcher Armando Galarraga had a perfect game against Cleveland with 2 outs in the ninth. And that call was, there was a call that was blown by first base umpire Jim Joyce. Jason Donald hit a grounder. The guy was clearly out, Dustin, no question, but called safe, ruining the perfect game. So in 2014, they expand the system. But to me, I love the challenge system, the ball strike, the ABS this year, right? No video people. I don't think there should be any video people. And I went to the Cubs season ticket holder day, and they have a phone for the bullpen and a phone for the video people. I don't think that should happen. I think it should be like the challenge. You have 5 seconds to decide if you want to challenge it. Calls goes to New York. New York has 30 seconds to decide. It shouldn't take 5 minutes of multiple camera angles, slowed down in super slow-mo to determine the call. If you can't see it right away, if it's not egregious, call on the field stance. That's
right. And I would love to know the numbers. I'd love to know the numbers, and I'm sure somebody's doing the numbers, Crawley, but I'd love to know the numbers, how many times it gets reversed. Meaning, if he would have been called out, would he have remained out, or would he have been called safe? You know what I'm saying? He was called safe. He was called safe, and they kept it safe. I wonder how often it gets flipped.
All I'm going to tell you is if it's a bang play, and
again, you can see in the picture you're showing the audience, Crawley, he's out. His foot shy. And
you can't see if his glove is physically touching his pant leg. That's the tricky part about it. You see it, and that could be an optical illusion. I mean, if you take a look here, it looks like I'm touching the alcohol bottle right here, but I'm not. It's just from an angle. You can't tell it. I think if they would have called him safe, he would have stayed safe. They called him out, it stayed out. And
that's my point.
Right. But I'm just saying it should be 5 seconds. The manager should not be able to look backward, make a phone call. Challenge or don't, and then 5 seconds. You got 30 seconds to figure it out, and if you can't, call in the field stance. That call took forever to figure out.
Long time. We saw it many times.
I don't know 100%.
I guess it didn't matter because the Cubs didn't score a run. Hard to win a game when you don't score a run.
Key number 3: should we be concerned about Daniel Palencia? Hobie Milner finished.
No.
Hobie Milner finished the 6th inning for Tyone.
No.
Phil Maton, another good outing, 1 1/3 inning, no base runners, 2 Ks. But I talked about this last time. Palencia comes in with 1 out in the 8th, no one on base, still just a 1-0 game. First batter he faces, Dustin, Corey Seager. He gives up an extremely loud out. In fact, if PCA is not there, maybe that's extra bases. It was 103 off the bat, 400 feet to dead center. Nice catch by BCA. Next batter, Josh Young singles, and then Evan Carter hits a 2-run homer over the outstretched mitt of Seiya Suzuki. I thought maybe he was going to make the play, but missed it by that much, a little bit right there. There it is. It just makes it over the wall. But Dustin, this is what I was talking about. And I talked about it last time, and I said, well, maybe it was adrenaline. These are the pitches that Daniel Palencia threw, and he had 1, 2, 3 pitches out of his 4-seamer. He threw 3, 5, 8, 9, 10 4-seam fastballs, and only 3 of them hit 100, Dustin, and barely. Not 101, not 102, not 103. He doesn't have the same velocity on his fastball as he did in the past. And that's what has me worried. If you take a look at his numbers before the injury, now when he came back in his first start, it was that Thursday game that the Cubs had against the Reds where he came in. He had a couple at 101, 102, but then you started to see a tail to 98 miles per hour later on in the inning. I don't know if he's 100%, Dustin. I'm not saying he is or isn't. I'm just saying it's something to watch out, because if he's not hitting, Dustin, 101, 102, he's going to get hit. That's all I'm going to say. But all in all, it was, Was that the result we were hoping for in Texas? Of course not. But take a look at what the Cubs have done so far this season. And I guess to me, it's important that Cub fans kind of keep this in mind. This is from OptaStats. They're the first team in MLB to have 2 separate 10-game winning streaks and a 15-game home winning streak, all before the end of May. Before the end of May, Dustin. The Cubs are this is from Sarah Lang, Slang on Sports. The Cubs are the 5th team in MLB history with multiple distinct win streaks of 10 games before their 40th decision, joining the 55 Dodgers, the 41 Cardinals, 1887 St. Louis Browns, and the 1880 Chicago White Stockings, now the Cubs. So they've done some amazing things. And guess what? There's going to be losing streaks. That's going to happen. I wish to say that there wasn't. I think everyone just needs to relax. And what Nico kind of talked about during the game about, what the team can do, that to me is when I look at what the team does, they do a lot of the little things well. They do a lot of the fundamentals well. And that's why I think that no matter what happens with this team, I think that there may be losing streaks in the future, but they run the bases well and they play defense well. And those 2 things, if you can do those 2 things, you're going to go on good runs where the pitching's good. You're going to go on runs where the hitting's good. But all in all, I kind of feel that the little things, the signs of a good team, the Cubs have. And here's what Nico said.
Yeah, I mean, that's the great part about having such a deep lineup is you're going to have parts of the year where, guys aren't feeling good in the lineup and some guys feel great and this and that. There's ebbs and flows of the season like that. But when there's standards of just how you carry yourself, how you play defense, how you base run, that really uplifts everybody and keeps the group consistent because, the offensive results come and go in this game for everybody. And when you control the controllables at a high level and set standards as a group, I think it's a sign of a good team.
And I still think this is a good team, no matter what happens this coming week in Atlanta.
You are listening to the Fly the W podcast, episode 360. The Cubs actually lost a series, and we're here to talk about it with you. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. 5-star review. We'll take it. Email us, crawleysclubhouse@gmail.com. Don't forget you can watch us, as some of you are, on the Crawley Clubhouse YouTube page. In this segment, we're going to preview Cubs and Braves and Hotlanta pitching matchups, offseason moves, which players are hot and which players are not. And the Braves, Crawley, are the best team record-wise in baseball.
They are. This is, again, what we talked about this with LA, and now you're going to talk about it with Atlanta. This is a step up in class. This isn't Texas. Now, to say last season was a disaster for the Braves would be an understatement. They came into the season favorites to win the NL East like they usually do. Dustin, they finished in 4th place with a record of 76-86. Their prized free agent, Jurickson Profar, was suspended by MLB for testing positive PEDs. There was locker room drama with Ronald Acuna where he had to apologize to his manager and teammates. They were constantly dealing with injuries. By the time the season was over, they used 71 different players, setting a new Major League Baseball record for most players used by a single team in a season. The Braves also tied a record for the most pitchers used in the season at 46. And at the end of the season, Brian Snitker announced his retirement as manager after 10 season. The Cubs did take 4 out of 6 games against the Braves last year. You take
quite a bit of turnover too for this team year to year, huh?
Yeah, the one guy that I know a lot of Cub fans wanted, Robert Suarez, a great reliever, signed a 3-year deal. Ha-Sung Kim resigned. He was just on the IL, came off. They got Mike Yastrzemski from San Francisco. Raciel Iglesias resigned. Mauricio Dubon, they got in a trade with Astros. They got a lot of turnover, like you said. And they didn't lose a ton. They lost Alex Manoah to the Angels. He's been struggling. Marcelo Osuna's with the Pirates. Pierce Johnson, former Cub, is with the Red. So this is going to be a battle of heavyweights right here. If you take a look at the Cubs record right now, and Dustin, I think we can probably leave this up for a little while if we want. The Cubs 27-14, hottest team in the NL Central, 8-2. But look at the Brewers. You think they're going to be gone? They're on a 4-game winning streak, 7-3 in their last 10. They're in 2nd place. St. Louis just outside of 3rd place by half a game in the loss column. And then the Pirates and the Reds in the rear at 22-19. But Pittsburgh, 6-4 in their last 10. But how about this, Dustin? May 11th, No team in the NL Central is below 500.
That's amazing.
Let's contrast that with the NL East, where the Braves are clearly the cream of the crop, 28-13. Phillies in second place. Remember that start and they fired the manager and everything. They're 7-3 in their last 10, 19-22. So are the Marlins. The Nationals at 19-22. So you got this big cluster in the middle. And then you got the Mets pulling up the rear at 15-25. They're 5-5 in their last 10, spinning their wheels. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Mets in segment 3. But previous week, the Braves were on a West Coast road trip. They dropped 2 of 3 of Mariners to start the week, but they were 3 very close games. And they finished on a high note, taking 2 of 3 from the Dodgers. After losing the opening game to the Dodgers on Friday night, the Braves scored 7 runs on Saturday and then 7 runs on Sunday. For the Cubs, kind of the opposite. They started the week with a 4-game sweep of the Reds at home with 3 come-from-behind wins. Unfortunately, as we talked about, they lost the opener against the Rangers, but they were shut out back-to-back to end the weekend. So the Braves have a very good home record at 12-6, but an even more impressive, Dustin, their road record is 16-7. But
well, that's
6
the
at
thing.
home.
That's just it. That's it, man.
That's ridiculous.
You can play that kind of ball on the road. That's really great.
The Braves 2-1 against teams with a winning record. Cubs best home record 18, but are featured on the road. Record 8 against with a winning record. So the one thing I would that Dustin that I don't know if Atlanta's really, had a lot of challenges. You play who's in front of you. I'm just saying they haven't really played some of the teams that really have been dominating.
He is really heating up.
Hot and not time.
Hot. Yep. Yeah. When we take a look at the Cubs for hot, I think there's nobody hotter right now than Michael Busch. Michael Busch is, like I said, come out of a really bad early start to really be carrying this team right now. Michael Busch is 9 for his last 23 with 3 doubles, a triple, and a home run, 10 RBIs, slashing 391, 531, 739. PCA 8 for his last 25 with a double, a triple, and a home run. You got Ian Happ, we talked about his on-base streak, 8 for his last 25. And Michael Conforto in a little less time, 6 for his last 10 with 2 home runs. So for the Cubs, those are the guys that are really hot. Now, for the Braves, you have Mauricio Dubon, who is 7 for his last 20, hitting 350. And then you have Jorge Mateo, a little less. He's 4 for his last 10. But those are the only 2 that they have on the hot list.
Only 2. Surprising, considering, right? I mean, but we have parameters, right? We have reasons of why we have the hot and the not and who fits in to each category. All right, moving right along, Crowley.
Yeah, and when you talk about that, about the cold list, the Braves have just a couple hot, but they have a lot of guys in that mid-range and not a lot of guys on the cold list. So when you take a look at the cold list for the Cubs, anyone hitting under 200 for the week, this is where you saw what happened this weekend is a lot of guys all of a sudden started to go cold. Under 200 the last week, Nico Horner hitting 192, Dansby Swanson 154, Alex Bregman 148, and then Miguel Amaya in less time 143, and Moises Ballesteros 105, 2 for his last 19. So if you take a look at the Cubs, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys hitting under 200 in the last week. That's more than half their lineup.
And how about Bregman, basically being benched yesterday?
Yeah, he needed a day off, and that was the right thing to do. The Braves, on the other hand, they got 3 guys that are cold right now. They got Mike Yastrzemski is hitting 182. Drake Baldwin, rookie of the year last year, he's hitting 167. And Ozzie Albies 321, but Lord knows how he hits the Cubs. I doubt he'll be on that list next week. When we take a look at the injury report for Atlanta, there's going to be one big injury that Cub fans are really going to notice, and that is going to be the fact that we're not going to see Ronald Acuna, another guy that absolutely terrorizes the Cubs. He's dealing with a strained hamstring. Spencer Strider is not, has been activated, but we're not going to see him. But the main one is Acuna. That's the one that really, he's a guy between him and Ozzie Albies always seem to kill the Cubs. And so I'm not going to miss
Long time. They've been a long time Cub killers. You're right.
Yeah, when we talk about the Cubs, we'll get more about it in segment 3, but you're still missing a ton of relievers with Hunter Harvey, Caleb Thielbar, Riley Martin, not to mention Matthew Boyd, Steele, Cade Horton, and Porter Hodge. So hopefully some reinforcements coming soon, but it's not looking anything like any time in the near future. So that's kind of where we are, and the Cubs have who they have, and hopefully they can continue to try and make something happen.
Tail of the tape.
All righty. When we take a look at tail of the tape, April 20th to May 10th, 3-week sample size. As you can guess, offensively, the Cubs have dropped in some categories.
Yeah, that was bound to happen, though, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, they were first and second in batting average, OBP, and slug, and that's changed.
Batting still average, good in OBP. OBP is good.
Batting average, the Braves are third in baseball at the 265 average, while the Cubs are now eighth. They went from first to eighth. 253 batting average. OBP, the Cubs are still in first, 353. The Braves are 12th with 324. Slug, the Braves are 450, second in all of baseball, while the Cubs are 437, sixth. But the big difference between the Cubs and the Braves, runners in scoring position. The Braves
It's amazing that they're 29th, Crowley, and in first place. It's amazing.
But that has to do a lot with obviously the batting average, the OBP, and the slug.
Right.
They're able, they have a lot of opportunities. They're just not cashing in all the time.
Not cashing in.
But if you have Michael Busch who cashes in one time with a bases clearing double, you know that you're going to get runs on the board. But yeah, when you look at the runners in scoring position, the Braves are fourth in baseball at 291, while the Cubs are 29th at 216. When it comes to starting pitching ERA, the Braves have the edge, 347 ERA. That's seventh best in baseball, while the Cubs are 13th at 396. Relief pitchers are almost exactly the same, 0.01 difference. Braves have the slight edge, 12th in baseball compared to the Cubs, 13th. And when you talk about home runs, same thing. They're almost equal in home runs given up by both starters and relievers. Fielding, the Cubs have the advantage with 17 defensive runs saved, fourth best in baseball, while the Braves are 14th with 7 defensive runs saved.
All right, let's cruise through these games, Crowley. Big series starting up on Tuesday night, 6:15 first pitches. Grant Holmes, Colin Ray, the pitching matchup.
Yeah, Holmes is a 30-year-old righty, 2-1, 4.37 ERA, and 7 starts with 29 strikeouts and 37 in the third innings pitched. He had no decision against the Phillies on the 19th, gave up 2 runs, 4 hits, 1 walk, 4 Ks, and 4 2/3. On April 24th against the Phillies, he got the win, 3 runs, 7 hits, 3 walks, 4 Ks, 7 innings pitched. And then May 1st, he got a no decision against the Rockies, gave up 5 runs on 7 hits, 3 walks, 4 Ks in 5 innings pitched, but that was in that Colorado air. Holmes has not faced the Cubs in his career. 2 Cubs have at-bats against him. Alex Bregman is 0 for 2, and Michael Conforto is 3 for 5 with a double. So I got a feeling that Michael Conforto may be DHing at the very minimum, if not playing in the outfield. Who knows what's going to happen, but I think at the very minimum, he's going to be DHing. Holmes has a home record of 540 in 3 starts, and both righties and lefties hit roughly the same against him. Holmes mainly a 2-pitch pitcher using a slider and a 4-seamer with an occasional slider that he'll throw in there. Colin Ray, we know he's 4-1 with a 4.03 ERA in 8 games, 5 starts, 35 strikeouts, and 38 innings pitched. Other than 1 bad start against the Dodgers, Ray's been solid for the Cubs as he's had to step into the starting rotation. Against that Dodgers, he picked up the L, 6 runs, 6 hits, 4 walks, 4 Ks, and 3 1/3. May 1st against the Diamondbacks, he got the win with 2, gave up 2 runs on 8 hits, no walks, 6 Ks, 5 1/3. And then May 6th versus the Reds, he only gave up 1 run on 6 hits, 3 walks, 5 Ks, in 5 1/3. Collins 2-0 lifetime against the Braves with a 3.97 ERA in 6 starts. He made 1 start against the Braves last season. It did not go well. He gave up 3 runs on 5 hits and only lasted 4 innings. He needs to watch out for Matt Olson, who is 4 for 8 against him with 2 doubles and a home run. He also needs to look out for Mike Yastrzemski, 3 for 8 with a double and 2 home runs. Dustin, the home road splits for Colin Ray is kind of weird. Colin's 2-0 at home with a 2.66 ERA, but on the road he's 2-1 with a 5.60 ERA. But that LA start again kind of skews the numbers. Righties are hitting 193 against Colin Ray, but lefties are hitting 309. Colin has that 4-seamer, the split finger against lefties, and a slider, splitter, and sinker against righties.
Game number 2, Wednesday, 6:15. J.R. Ritchie against Shota.
Yep, J.R. Ritchie's a 22-year-old rookie right-hander who was the 35th overall pick in 2022, one of the competitive balance picks. J.R. made his major league debut against the Nationals on April 23rd. He got the win. He gave up 2 runs on 5 hits, 2 walks, 7 Ks, and 7 innings pitched. Then against the Tigers, he had no decision, gave up 2 runs on 5 hits, 4 walks, 4 Ks, and 5 1/3. And then against Seattle, on May 4th, he had a no decision, 3 runs, 4 hits, 6 walks, and 2 Ks. But each start, Dustin, he's giving up more walks. He has less strikeouts and pitched less innings. None of the Cubs have faced Ritchie. He throws a sinker and a curve against righties and uses a 4-seamer, curve, and changeup against lefties. Now, Shota Imanaga, 4-2 with the 2.28 ERA and 8 starts, 53 strikeouts and 47 1/3 innings. He lost his start against the Dodgers on April 26th. He gave up 4 runs on 6 hits, 3 walks, 6 Ks, and 5 1/3. May 2nd against the Diamondbacks, he picked up the win, 7 scoreless innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 5 Ks. May 7th versus the Reds, he picked up the win, gave up 1 run, 6 hits, 3 walks, 10 Ks in 6 innings pitched. He's 1-1 lifetime against the Braves with a 3.18 ERA and 3 starts against Atlanta. Last season, when he faced them twice. He went 1-1, gave up 6 runs on 10 hits, 3 home runs. He needs to watch out for Ozzie Albies, who is 5 for 9 with 2 home runs against him. Ha-Seong Kim, though, is only 1 for 8 against Shota. Shota is 3-1 at home with a 1.74 ERA, 1-1 on the road with a 3.31. Both lefties and righties are struggling against him. He features a 4-seamer, split, and a sweeper that he uses against lefties. Game 3 is Thursday night, 6:15. You got Chris Sale versus Ben Brown. In this outing right here, the old versus the young. And so hopefully Ben Brown can match up with the future Hall of Famer. Chris Sale is 37 years old, 6-2 with the 2.20 ERA in 8 games, with 56 strikeouts and 49 innings pitched. Unbelievable that at 37 years old, Dustin, at 37 years old, that Chris Sale still can strike out guys at the rate he's doing it.
Yeah, he's going to be an issue.
He's against April 26th against the Phillies. He got the win, 6 scoreless innings, 1 hit, 2 walks, 9 Ks. May 2nd against Colorado. We talked about the Colorado wind or the air doesn't affect Chris Sale. Gave up 1 run, 3 hits, 3 walks, 11 Ks in 7 innings pitched. And he was the tough luck loser against the Dodgers on May 8th. He only gave up 2 runs, 5 hits, no walks, 7 Ks in 7 innings pitched, but that wasn't good enough. Sale is 3-2 lifetime against the Cubs in 7 games, 5 of those starts with a 1.59 ERA. Cubs did okay against Sale last season. They scored 3 runs on 7 hits in 5 innings, gave him a loss. But Dustin, Sale is 4-0 at home with a minuscule ERA. It's just unbelievable. Lefties hit 200 against them, while righties hit 169. So I think you're going to see a lot of lefties in that lineup. I don't know if it's going to help Mo Baller. Didn't help him against DeGrom. Now you got another future Hall of Famer. But most of the Cubs don't have more than 4 bats against Sale. The exception is Alex Bregman, 6 for 24 with 2 homers. Sale's still an elite pitcher with that slider, 4-seamer, and changeup, and that we remember all the way from the south side of Chicago. Ben Brown gets to start. He's 1-1 with a 1.82 ERA in 13 games. Only one of them a start with 27 strikeouts and 29 2/3 innings. Made his first start Friday against the Rangers. We talked about that. 4 scoreless innings, did not give up a hit. He's 0-1 lifetime against the Braves in 4 games. 1 start with a 3.24 ERA. He faced the Braves twice out of the pen last season. Gave up 2 runs in 2 1/3 innings of work. No one has more than 4 at-bats against Brown, who features a 4-seamer and a knuckle curve and a sinker that he uses against right-handed hitters. We'll make our predictions in segment 3, Dustin. But obviously the Braves have the best record in baseball for a reason. This isn't going to be easy. This is going to be a test for the Cubs. And hopefully by the time we meet with next time, they've passed the test, hopefully.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one, and we're going to move into that segment next, Crawley. Little news and notes. Don't forget to listen, download, review, download the podcast. You got a 5-star review in you. We'll take it. You can email us, Crawley's Clubhouse, gmail.com. You can watch us on the Crawley's Clubhouse YouTube page. little couple odds and ends, Crawley, some notes from around the diamond.
Yeah, but if we take a look at the IL right now, of course, it wouldn't be another week of Cubs baseball without more injury news. How about Hunter Harvey? He went on the IL retroactive to April 9th. He had a setback after a bullpen session per Craig Counsell. He's dealing with a stress reaction near his tricep shoulder. He is shut down for a month and has moved his rehab to Arizona. Jordan Wicks with his, he had a left forearm injury. He has got to be coming back soon, Dustin. He threw 81 pitches in 4 shutout innings, 4 strikeouts, 4 walks, 2 hits allowed in his 5th rehab outing with AAA Iowa on May 9th. I think the next time you have one of these Gavin Hollowells or something that throws a bunch of innings, I think on the next kind of rotation, I think we'll see Jordan Wicks shortly. Caleb Thielbar has a left hamstring strain. He's expected to return in May. He did have a May 8th bullpen session. He's scheduled to face live hitters in BP on May 13th before, if all goes well, before a minor league rehab assignment.
Very nice. Very nice.
With all these
good news, get Wicks and Thielbar back, that would be good news.
Right. But with all these injuries to the starters, Dustin, the question, and I know that you guys had Carter Hawkins on the Mully and Haw show last week on 104.3, The Score. And, he was asked about the possibility of trades, and here's what Carter said.
Yeah, I think you're right. The media definitely talks about it earlier every year. I would say, on the industry side, we're talking about trades pretty consistently, so that hasn't changed. And you jump the market when you feel like you have good value, and the other team feel like they have good value. It's harder to do that far away from a deadline. It's harder to do that when you got so many teams that are still in the mix. So it's unlikely that there would be a significant move this time of year, but that doesn't mean we're not talking about it. It doesn't mean we're not making sure to have every line in the water that we possibly can. So it's part of it. It's unfortunately a slow trickle this time of year, but it's definitely going on.
Well, Dustin, normally there isn't many big trades, but all of a sudden, what happens? Jeff Passan breaks us this weekend. The Cleveland Guardians are acquiring 2-time Gold Glove winning catcher Patrick Bailey in the trade with the San Francisco Giants for the number 29 pick in this year's draft and left-handed pitching prospect Matt Tugboat Wilkinson. When's the last time you heard Tugboat? That's a good old-fashioned nickname, right?
Tug McGraw.
Yeah, but I'm looking at this right here, Dustin, and I'm saying to myself, all right, the Giants and Buster Posey fire sale going on. Now you start to take a look, and you're looking at what the Mets are doing, and not saying they can't get in it, but it's getting tougher and tougher every day. It just doesn't look good for them. But if San Francisco is into trades, there's 2 guys now. One of them, of course, just because the Cubs sniffed him somehow, he went on the IL, is Logan Webb and Robbie Ray, right, from the San Francisco Giants. And this was an article written by Patrick Mooney in The Athletic talking about this one. But, Webb is a guy that, his ERA is a little bit high, but he has a pretty good ground ball rate, which obviously is going to do good with the Cubs defense. And so that would definitely make the ERA go down. He's always been known as an inning eater, which in a team that right now really needs guys to eat innings would be great. But, he's not going to be a free agent market until after 2028. So that means it's just going to be more expensive, more prospects.
Well, does every one of these trades for this type of starting pitcher start with Matt Shaw?
I think Matt Shaw's definitely got to be a name that's in there.
And are you okay with that?
I'm okay with it. Yeah. I don't see where does Matt Shaw fit in the future, I guess, is what I would ask somebody. Where would you play him?
Eventually they're going to have to replace Dansby Swanson, right? And Alex Bregman, that might be short-term as well. He might be more of a DH or something if you can find a position for Ballesteros, perhaps.
No, you're not finding
second, right?
No. I don't see it happening. So obviously Matt Shaw is the best trade chip they have right now. Now, the other guy that we talked about here, which is Robbie Ray, to me, he's a really, really good pitcher. He could be a number 1, 2 legit, but he is a guy that, again, like Matthew Boyd, where you might get one good year out of him and catch lightning in a bottle, but then all of a sudden, all the injuries pop up. And that's been Matthew Boyd. That's been Robbie Ray. Kerry Wood, Cub fans are familiar with, just guys that just, when they're healthy, boy, oh boy, can they look really damn good. But the trouble is they can't stay healthy. Two more names.
Very important, Crowley. Stay healthy.
What? The best ability is availability.
There you go.
Two guys, and Bruce Levine brought this up with your partner, David Haw, on Hit and Run this weekend.
Inside the clubhouse.
Inside the clubhouse. I switched the shows up, but inside the clubhouse, Bruce brought this up. Freddie Peralta, again, like Robbie Ray, he's going to be a free agent. So if they're going to be free agent, you're just renting them. You're not going to get as much back in return. You want to give
you're not getting Matt Shaw then, right? You need control if you're getting Matt Shaw.
I don't know, Dustin.
Okay.
I would be, if you told me Freddie Peralta for Matt Shaw, just straight up one deal, I'd do that.
Yeah,
I'd do that in a heartbeat.
I probably would too. I'll be honest. I probably would too.
Right. And so if you're talking about Freddie Peralta, that's the swing and miss stuff, Dustin, that we talked about. That's a legit ace.
Ace. He knows the division.
He knows the skipper. I mean, if you ask me, any of these guys that we're about to go through, who I would take, number one on my list would be Freddie Peralta.
That's fair. Very
fair.
Holmes.
Clay Holmes is another name. Again, just like Logan Webb, another guy that's a lot of ground balls. And he's going to be done he holds a $12 million option for 2027 that he's probably going to decline to get into the free agent market. But he's another guy that again, with this defense and ground balls, interesting. Zach Gallen. It feels like we're always talking about Zach Gallen, right? Zach Gallen's another name that's up there along with Michael Soroka. Gallen, the Cubs weren't interested in him, right? In the offseason, Scott Boras tried, but not. And so Gallen goes back to the Diamondbacks, 1 year, $22 million contract. But this time, if they're able to trade for him, one of the reasons they didn't want him is because he had that draft pick tied to him, right? So if that was the big thing, is that the Cubs didn't want to do that. Michael Soroka, the Cubs gambled on him last year. He made the playoff roster. The problem with Soroka, he was coming back from injury and he wasn't 100% yet. He's 100% right now, and he's looking pretty darn good. I wish he was looking like he did there last year, because remember he pitched some a little bit in the game against the Brewers. I think game number 1, where Matt Boyd came out and he didn't look really good. And then a name that's forever been mentioned with the Cubs, Sandy Alcantara, another guy that between Sandy Alcantara, Jesus Luzardo, and Edward Cabrera, like those three names have been tied for the Cubs forever. Obviously, friends with Edward Cabrera, so maybe that makes him a little bit happier. He's recovered from Tommy John, but he's been a previous Cy Young Award winner. For me, Dustin, he would be my number 2. There's a couple other names on here. Joe Ryan from the Twins, who's never done much for me, Dustin. I don't know. And he's got a lot of injury issues. Sonny Gray, Foster Griffin, who's he's been really impressive. I don't know about Matt Shaw. Maybe if we would go, more of minor league guys, I'd be interested in Foster Griffin. But for me, I have, just if you can tell me Freddie Peralta or Sandy Alcantara, I'm listening. I'm taking phone calls on those two guys.
I'm with you. I'll get on the other line of that phone. No problem. All right, we ready to? I'm a little off script here, Crowley.
No problem. Almost. We have David Ross rooting against the Cubs. The Beyond Baseball podcast had David Ross on the other day, and he was talking about what it was like in after he got let go after the 2023 season. Craig Counsell's first year is 2024. Here's what Ross had to say about watching the Cubs in 2024.
I was really following the Cubs probably super hard in 24, just because it's like, that's my team. How are they going to do without me?
That must be a weird. I've been thinking a lot about that for obvious reasons now. Of like what that dynamic is like.
Oh, it's the worst. So
it's like,
well, you're rooting for the players,
but you're rooting against the team.
They lose. I'm like, that's a terrible way to feel. Because you're like, you love those guys. Yeah. I'm over that. Like I still follow the Cubs and root for them, and it's a little different now. But I think what they say, time heals. Yeah, there you go. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it heals someone.
People ask me all the time, "Did you enjoy managing?" And I'm like, it's not an enjoyable job. I'll tell you that right now. No, it's not enjoyable.
But you would want to.
I would do it again in a heartbeat. You know what I mean? Like, it's not something you grind over the losses, and you're absolutely miserable over every loss. And like 3 losses feels like you're never winning again. And the wins are like, and to see guys get better is so rewarding. There's no positive conversations coming in your office. It's all negative, right? Like, well, I just mean in the fact of like, there's a guy going through something, or he's going through a slump, or trying to figure out a pitcher's getting rocked, and like they never come in when they're doing good. Like, hey, Skip, you're doing a great job. So
I'm here to build.
I'm here to lift you up, Skip, because they're having a tough day.
What do you think about? Obviously, I think we know that David Ross wants to manage, and I think he probably learned some things his first go around. I think it's.
I think he'd be better. I think he'd be better the second time around. Not surprised that he was rooting against the organization, rooting for his former teammates and ex-players that he was the skipper for. No real surprise there. I'm glad to see him back out there. He kind of disappeared for about a year.
Yeah, and obviously, you don't want to see some guy. If you remember, Craig Counsell's first year has ended up with the same situation, collapsing in September and finished with the same record. So you don't want, if Craig Counsell would have gotten the playoffs that first year, I mean, it would have even looked even worse for David Ross. So, I mean, I've said it over and over again. Nobody should get their first managing job at the MLB level. I think it's foolish. I think that's stupid. I think it's just a poor idea. And I think, these are smart front office guys who think they're smarter than everybody else, who think that they can just sit there and put a guy in there and let, just play the numbers. And I still think that there's a good balance between numbers and feel. You got to have both. You can't have one or the other. And so, obviously
the combination of the two is a winning formula.
And we're going to hear about that this week as Bobby Cox passed away this weekend. And so this is going to be the first time Atlanta's home since the passing of Bobby Cox. So it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out.
A lot of tributes, no doubt. Yeah, a lot of tributes, no doubt.
And a lot of those guys were close with Bobby Cox. He was in close proximity with the team always. So we'll see how this kind of, if it has any kind of, baseball players love routine. And we were talking about David Ross in the Lovable Reunion podcast, like they were talking about how they hated the World Series in a way. They didn't want to come out and they couldn't do their normal routine because of all the extra media, all the press. Rizzo talks about trying to wanting to just do BP, and he sees Big Papi and kind of gives him a head nod. And Papi wants to talk, and it's kind of like, no, I want to kind of get in my routine. So I'm curious to see if they have any. Obviously, they're going to have some things for Bobby Cox, I'm sure, tomorrow night. We'll see if that has any effect on anything. But speaking of the Lovable Reunion podcast, I did listen to the latest episode, the one from last week with John Maley and Eric Hinsky. John Maley was the hitting coach.
Tell me about this, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you, and Eric Hinsky was the assistant hitting coach. And it was so interesting. I just love it because I love the art of hitting and listen to guys that know how to talk about it. And I've been blessed. I listened. John Maley came to Club 400 and did an event there, and I got to listen to John. And he's just a super intelligent guy. And I'm glad now he's the Cubs assistant hitting coach, and he works with guys like PCA and some of the younger players. And Hinsky is just absolutely hilarious. But they're an interesting combo. They're an interesting pair. And what they talked about, what Maley talks about, is you want your weaknesses to be the other guy, the assistant's strengths, and vice versa. So where John was able to John was able to see things and analyze things and talk about biomechanics and all this stuff. Hinsky was a guy that played at the big league level and was able to kind of make it more digestible for players. And so it was really interesting to kind of hear the dynamic and how Hinsky was the one that would tell him, hey, get closer to the plate, and they're either going to have to hit you or they're going to have to, pitch you in your happy zone, one of the two. And you remember Rizzo got hit more than anybody else. Now, Maley didn't like it because Maley would say, look, you're our best hitter. We don't need you, breaking a finger, breaking a hand or something. And Rizzo would yell at him, I beat cancer. I'm not scared of a baseball. So kind of a funny little thing there. And Eric Hinsky was another one that he also told Rizzo, because they were both big lefties, right? Hinsky and Rizzo. And he would talk. That's how he kind of talked to him into moving closer to the plate. And the other thing they talked about is if you go 1-0, automatic take on the second pitch. And so that was what Hinsky and Rizzo talked about. And Rizzo said, that's what I did like the whole rest of my career. If it was 1-0, I don't know if I ever swung the bat on a 1-0 pitch.
Interesting.
So
I'm going to check that one out. I haven't gotten to that one yet.
Yeah, if you're interested in the dynamics of hitting and just the way that these guys, how they grinded, how they worked on everything, and you know, Joe Madden obviously is going to get all the praise. He's the one that gets the praise. He's the one that gets shit on when something goes wrong, no doubt about it. But you know, it's these guys are the ones that are up at 8 a.m. What they would say is that when the players, they were always in the cages. And if the players showed up, no matter what time, somebody was there, either Hinsky or Maley or both of them. And so really interesting. If you like baseball talk and you like the, you know, learning about the way that players and hitters react to each other and communicate with each other and building a coaching staff that just was so tied into the players. It's a really good listen. And I encourage anyone to do that right there.
All right, let's predict it, Crowley. We got 3 big games coming up, starting on Tuesday. Pitching matchups are interesting. I'll go first. Don't get swept. I think they win the first game. They lose the second 2. So I got them going 1 for 2, winning Tuesday, losing on Tuesday, winning Tuesday, losing Wednesday, losing Thursday, 1 and 2.
I have the Cubs losing 2 out of 3, but I believe that the Shota Imanaga start is the one they're going to win. I think if the Cubs somehow take 2 out of 3, they're going to win Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't think it's going to be pretty versus Chris Sale.
I would totally agree. All right, that's a wrap. Don't forget to download, review, subscribe, 5-star reviews. Those are cool too. Email Crowley and I, Crawley's Clubhouse at gmail.com. Watch us like you are right now, perhaps, on the Crawley's Clubhouse YouTube page. Crawley, you know what's next, right? After the Brave series?
A little Crosstown Classic?
Little Crosstown Classic over at the South Side at the rate. Crawley, enjoy it. We'll try to get together on Thursday and preview the big series on the South Side.
Absolutely. And thanks again for everyone that tuned in. Larry Sproul, who agreed with you, Dustin, about the out call at home plate. He didn't like it. We got Everett Tauscher, and he says rip Bobby Cox and rip Ted Turner. I forgot about that. So Ted Turner, I think it's going to be a very interesting feel over in at Atlanta. And hopefully, like I said, the Cubs can pass this test, go toe-to-toe with one of the best in baseball. And here's the thing, Dustin, maybe you win the series, maybe you lose the series, but put up a fight. Put up a fight, and that's what we want to look at, man, is show that you belong and that you are the real deal, and then get back to Chicago, and hopefully we'll be ready for a lot of fun. Go Cubs!
It's all over.